Welcome to Discover Indie Film. I'm Jeff Howard, and my guest right now, I have Michael May on Zoom. Hey, Michael.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. All right, so you are on the Discover Indie Film podcast because your feature film, Where Darkness Dwells, was an official selection at Sherman Oaks Film Festival last year, because we are recording this in January of 20. It's actually on the fifth day of the year, January 5th, we are talking. And this sucker will probably come out first week of February. But your feature film, Where Darkness Dwells, was an official selection at Sherman Oaks Film Festival in December of 2025. And you took home the Grand Jury Award for Best Screenplay of a Feature Film. And that was for you and your co-writer, Alexandra Grunberg. Mm-hmm. And I did not check how to pronounce her name.
You did it right. You did it right. Thank you.
And yet I asked do I have Michael May right? And then you also took home the Grand Jury Award for Best Production Design in a Feature Film. And that went to your production designer, Jordan Wayne Long. So There you go. 2 awards. And I know you're nearing the end of your festival run, so I'm going to make the assumption that you've gotten some awards along the way, because it's a very high quality film.
Oh, well, thank you for saying that. We have won some things, and we've been nominated for other things. And I'm not somebody that takes compliments or awards well. I tend to be like, oh God, what is wrong with these people? What movie did you watch? But no, it is. I'm so grateful that people have been responding well to the movie and enjoying it.
Right. And I mean, honestly, the production design, you got to admit, your person there did an amazing job. I mean, it looks so good.
Well, thank you. And that's Jordan, who helped produce it's such a small movie. It is a micro budget movie. So everybody in the movie is also our crew. Jordan also helped produce the movie, and he's one of those Swiss Army knife type talents that can get out and do anything. And the property we shot on, funny enough, is owned by Jordan's family, and Jordan now lives on the property with his wife, Tara Perry, who plays the lead in the movie. So they actually live on that property, and that's part of how the movie came to be, which I'm sure you were probably going to get to some questions about that later, but I'll bring that up now since we're talking about Jordan.
Possibly, but also I just have to say, what a beautiful place to live. Holy moly.
It's wonderful. It's so wonderful. It is a majestic place for sure.
I mean, the funny thing is, as I've heard, I can't quote him because I don't know who said it, but I heard a very famous cinematographer once say that the Oscar voters don't really know what cinematography is, so they just give it to the best landscape.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I agree with that.
and that location you used it's another character in the film. Absolutely.
It is. And so we filmed this movie in New Hampshire, and the location, just to call it out because it was a huge help to the movie, is a place called Aldworth Manor, which Jordan's family, the Long family, it has been restoring themselves. It's an old manor that they've been restoring as a family for years now. And you can actually rent it out you can stay on the property. They do like Airbnb places. And they also do special events like weddings and things like that. And it's a wonderful place. It is a playground. And I had been there multiple times before, and we sort of devised a movie that we could make around this location.
Right. And now here comes one more confession, although maybe the other confessions were before we started recording. But when I met you at Sherman Oaks Film Festival, and I believe we met, I'm going to guess it was at the opening night gala.
Yes. Yeah.
It wasn't until later that I put it together that you are in the darn movie, because you play a critical character, a very important character. And I'm going to tell you right now, for the co-writer and director, I did not think that was the director giving himself a cameo. I mean, when I didn't know it was you until after the festival. I've somehow I put it together. I'm like, wait a minute. I think I actually saw a photo of you on the red carpet. And that was when I finally realized, holy shit, he's the evil guy. oh, damn. That's almost a spoiler, isn't it? But
No. I think that's fine to say. Well, honestly, just thank you for saying that. That means so much to me. No, I've been an actor my whole life. I always wanted to be an actor and director. That was my goal since I was probably 4 years old, and I've worked very hard at it. And so it was not a cameo part by any means. It wasn't just me being like, hey, I'm an actor, I should play a part. It literally came down to, we don't have a lot of money, who's on set? And that's kind of where it came to be. And I fit the type. I knew what I wanted in terms of like an energy and a tone for that character. And I was like, well, that's my type. I know I can dive into this and do it. So but it was definitely not a handout for myself to have a part by any means. I even felt
If
very
anything,
awkward
you
about it.
typecast yourself.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
If anything. Well, that was
Yeah.
actually a killer segue. You said you mentioned that you are an actor. So let's dive into the past.
Hmm.
I'll ask you the question that I ask everyone on this podcast because I find filmmakers to be some of the most interesting people alive. So when did you catch the bug for film and or acting, storytelling? Did it get you early?
It did. I honestly don't have a memory without knowing exactly what I wanted to do with my life, to be very honest. It may have been 4 or 5 years old, somewhere around then. There's an old family VHS of that I didn't see until I was an adult, and now it's probably lost and stored somewhere, and who knows if the tape even plays. But it was my great grandmother's like 90 something birthday, and I think I was 5 or 6 years old, and I was filming my great grandmother with the old, the big old VHS, VCR, whatever you call it, the recorder camera. And I was filming her, and I was like, hey, Nanny, what does it feel like to be 90 years old, or however old she was turning? And she just made like a snarky comment of the same it did yesterday. And my mom, you could tell that she was worried I would drop this heavy camera, because she comes into frame and she says, Michael, why don't you get in front of the camera, because you want to be an actor? Let me hold that heavy camera. And I was like, well, Mom, I want to be a director too. And I was like 5. So I've always known what I've wanted to do. I have not always succeeded in pursuing it, but I've worked very hard at it, and it is, a fickle business and career. But I've always known what I wanted to do. So I've tried my best to pursue that constantly.
And where were you growing up?
This was in Central Florida. I was born in a place called Winter Haven, which is like an hour south of Orlando.
Right, Central Florida, where it's not super common to really, right? Like kids in
No.
the LA area, it's not super rare for a kid to be have
Mhm.
those interests. But I mean, the average 5-year-old outside of the LA area sometimes doesn't know there is a director. So it's kind of
Yeah.
amazing that you had that already locked in your mind.
It is, and I don't even know if I knew what a director was. I just knew they were kind of the storyteller behind the scenes. But I definitely knew I wanted to do both. And yeah, you're right. There was nothing. There really was nothing. I ended up going into theater. I studied theater. I ended up going to a boarding arts high school when I was a teenager to study theater, because not because I wanted to go to Broadway or anything, because I always wanted to make movies, but that was the only step I saw that I could go towards. So I was like, oh, I can at least study acting, so I'm going to go do that, because maybe the one day that'll lead me to Hollywood or something. So that's how I pursued it.
I mean, that's a very bold dedication to it to actually choose you said it was a boarding school that had
Yeah,
acting? So
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
that's having the guts to leave home and devote yourself. That's a bold move, I think, at
yeah.
the high school era.
Yeah, well, thank you. It's funny because I'm a relatively shy person, but I think because I was somewhat crazy in following these pursuits, is that kind of gives you courage. There's like an ignorance, there's something in that world where like you have courage because that you just know that's what you want to do, even though you're terrified. Uh, so yes, I did that.
Well, and sometimes it is ignorance masquerading as courage.
Yes,
Yeah, because
exactly.
I've done
Yeah,
many things in my
yeah.
life where like honestly, even starting film festivals, people are like,
Hmm.
"Did you?" I didn't think about it twice. We just went
Yeah,
for it, and
yeah.
it's like, wow, it would have been maybe not a bad idea to plan ahead, but instead you just move forward because you don't. Yeah. So there you go.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
so obviously growing up, did you get to play with that video camera a lot?
I did. I didn't actually make a lot of movies until like high school age, mainly because there was no way to edit. So when I did, even in high school, when I would make movies on like Hi8 and eventually like mini DV cams, I would edit in camera essentially. You just film and do that because I had no editing system whatsoever. I'm also not a very computer savvy person, so even when nonlinear editing software came about and everybody could get a hold of it, I was very late to that. I've never been sort of on the forefront of technology, so I've been a little slow in those things.
I mean, I can't prove it, but I have a harebrained theory that everybody who learned figured out that you could edit in camera, I feel like that was higher level thinking for
Honestly, I agree with that 100% because you really have to think about what you're doing and what your shots are and how it works in the edit ahead of time. And yeah,
ahead of time and the
yeah.
whole thing, right? You've
Hmm.
because if you haven't picked you well, if you try it once with winging it, you realize, oh shit,
Yeah, yeah,
none of that cuts together. But if you edit in camera and it works, that is you are directing and editing at the same time. It's really
absolutely.
something
Yeah,
else.
yeah, yeah. That's an interesting. I haven't thought about that in years, but I do agree with that. That's a lot of fun.
No, no, and I mean, I would it's not rare for me to hear that people, well, the only problem is a lot of people didn't learn to edit in camera because if you were born after iMovie, and I know
Exactly.
Windows did a
Yeah,
version of
yeah,
iMovie, all of
yeah.
a sudden they had free online editing on every PC in every home,
Hmm.
and some kids figured that out,
Hmm. Hmm.
and then they just became editors. Oh, see, they didn't learn how to direct better because they didn't have to edit in camera.
That's true. That's true.
I'm full of shit. That's probably not true. All right.
Well, there's something to it. there's something. It may not be 100% true, but there's
Yeah.
there's definitely truth to it for sure.
But it does sound like, did you have your own camera at the high school
No,
so they
no.
had equipment too?
No, this was primarily theater when I went to that. So
Oh, it
there
was
we
primary
weren't
theater
we
because I
weren't
thought you
thinking
mentioned in
about
high
that.
school you made some Hi8 kind of thing.
I did, but that was just at home.
Oh,
So I had like a
summer break.
family. I had like a family, yeah, summer break, and it was just like a family camera. It wasn't my own, so I didn't like take it to school or anything. So, yeah.
Understood. I haven't ever 646 episodes, and I haven't said this till now, which is my college graduation present was a Hi8 camera
Wow, there you go. There you go. I
because it
love
was
it.
like they just come out, and I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
holy crap, this thing is actually manageable.
Exactly.
Well, very cool. All right, so I assume going to that high school, was there some help and guidance as far as what to do for college and the arts?
Yes, there was. If you were pursuing a degree, perhaps in theater, I would say it's very creative focused, which is great for your training as an artist. There was not a lot of guidance in career or what the real world is like. There was some guidance in college, but I knew because I had already now studied theater and acting in high school, every college I looked at for theater, I was like, oh, I'm just doing the same thing again for like another 4 years. I know I want to make movies. Excuse me. So I targeted Los Angeles. And to satisfy my parents, I applied to colleges out here and I went to UCLA, but I quickly dropped out. And but I went for film, but I barely did any film classes because I was still, an undergrad. Yeah, not just undergrad, but like freshman, sophomore, whatever age. Because I was trying to be an actor at the same time and also work in production companies and all that kind of stuff. So I did not last long in college because I just wanted to work.
Right. And with your background, you were actually you were aiming at acting primarily, it sounds like, with the
Primarily, at least to
move.
start. I mean, I
Yeah.
remember it's funny to think about now, but I do remember having the thought of like start acting because I'm going to get experience on set and then I can sort of gradually move back behind the camera. But just in terms of work, it is, I don't know if anybody knows this. It's a secret. No one ever hears this, but it's really hard to get work as an actor. It's tough. So so I did
But it's a
start.
lot easier to get an acting gig when you move to LA than a directing gig.
Oh, for sure. Oh, 100%. You can't come to town and just be like, I'm a director, hire me. That's for sure. But I did, because I was interested in production in general, I started working for production companies. I did like some development gigs and PA stuff. And like I started working and producing, which is still primarily most of my like professional credits are on the production end of things. And I still produce from time to time.
Right. So you got in as like a line, you got in like line producing and just worked your way up on the producing side
Exactly.
of the
Yes.
world, of the greater
Exactly.
world.
Yeah, and I've even worked for like I've even worked on films that I really was a producer, but I'm not even like credited because I would work for a company doing like behind the scenes type of stuff. But yeah, so you just kind of work your way up, and then people come to you. Like every job I've had for the last 15 years has been people being like, "Hey, you did that thing, and that was cool, and that was fun working with you. Can you come do this?" And so that's where like a lot of jobs typically come from.
And promotions, right? Like
Hmm.
often you can move up in said department just by having done the job well and people seeing that and being like, well, because there's in the end like people who people who don't fuck up on set are hard to find.
Yeah, and also I even say this to my wife a lot because I'm a relatively antisocial person, and so is she. So COVID was not easy for us because we were like, oh, we'll just live at home. This is wonderful. But as we're like coming out of the post-COVID world, we keep having conversations about how important it is just to show face. Like just showing up somewhere is really key in this business because you never know what conversation is going to lead to something. And especially once you do have actually a bit of a resume, it does help because you might meet somebody at a party, at a film festival, at the Sherman Oaks Film Festival, mind you, and like just have a conversation, and then boom, you're in their head now for this next thing, and like, oh, I should call up Michael and talk to him about this, and vice versa. There's people I run into. It's like, oh my god, I had that idea for that whatever, and I just ran into so and so. I should call him up. So just showing face is so important in this business. Yeah.
By the way, I really like how you say how the two of you say that because being present and showing yourself sounds a lot better to me than the networking thing. Because
Yes.
networking, those people show up and they're like grabbing at people and everyone wants them to leave.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you do it the right way.
Or at least I try to. But yeah, and it's funny because I didn't think about it in those words, but you're absolutely right. Because I hate networking, but showing up, I can do that. I can do that all the time. Hey, let's let's just
But
go
don't we
somewhere and
all
have fun.
hate? I mean, maybe it's me, maybe it's my bias and I'm just projecting my feelings on the rest of the world. But no one likes a networker. No one likes someone
No,
who works the
no.
room and you while they're talking to you, you feel them working you,
Yes,
finding
yes.
out what you're worth and
Yep,
looking over your shoulder for the next more
yep.
important person. Like, yeah, whereas being there and being friendly,
Yeah.
yeah, in the end, people do want to work with other friendly
They do,
humans.
and I tell people like I'm no big shot by any means, but I've been fortunate enough to kind of work on a lot of sets and work on a lot of different projects in my life. The people that you see work for a long time in this business, and I don't just mean writers, directors, actors. I mean anybody on a set. The people that tend to work are the ones that are fun to work with and show up and do their job. The people that have egos are the ones that they might have a burst of success, but they'll quickly kind of fall away. And I've been around now long enough that I've seen that happen. So yeah, show up, have a good time, be friendly, be nice. That is, yeah, that's a big sort of mantra, if you will, of mine.
In fact, oh man, I'm gonna out myself as a listener of some of those Scott Galloway podcasts.
Hmm.
NYU professor in economics, but he always says add value. If you want to get hired on things, everywhere you go, just add value. And then people will want to bring you in because you're not showing up looking what you can get from the world. You're showing up and saying, how can I add value to the situation I'm in?
That's a good point. Yeah, I love that. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah,
so you learned just by your instincts. You everywhere you go, you there you go. All right.
yeah,
So you were doing the producing thing but and working and you mentioned a company but also auditioning doing the whole
yeah.
audition game
Hmm.
and you stayed and you did not return to UCLA.
No. I did not return to UCLA. Much to the I don't know the right word. Demise isn't the right word, but yeah, much to my parents' chagrin, I guess I'll say.
That was definitely a chagrin moment.
Yeah. But no, I didn't go back, and I just kept hustling, and I'm still hustling to this day. I think where things kind of circle around to the film festival world in this movie, Where Darkness Dwells, is I've been helping people produce. I've been doing all these other things, and I also worked in TV on a handful of shows for about 4 or 5 years. And I just hit this point of like, well, I want to make movies. I feel like I've forgotten that I want to make movies. I'm just going to go out and make a movie. And that's kind of where Darkness Dwells came from.
Right. So you did a lot of directing as well.
Yeah, I've directed like commercials and branded content and short documentaries and a lot of things like that. And even the TV shows I worked on were sort of docu series type of shows that I hosted and produced, but you would have to direct, not all the time, but you would have to direct a lot. And we shot so much that yeah, there's a lot of experience that I think comes with that for sure.
Right. So when you got around to, so you literally decided, I'm gonna guess around 2023.
Mhm. Yeah, I think so. I think that's exactly right. Yeah.
So literally, maybe related, but 3 years after COVID, 3 years
Mm.
after we all experienced something highly unusual, you said, "It, I'm gonna make a film and it's gonna be a feature."
Yes, exactly. And I think some of that just comes from that's what I've always wanted to do. Um, and and I was like, I've also made so many shorts. I've not only directed some shorts, but I've produced a bunch of shorts. And a lot of times when I would work on a short, I'd be like, why aren't we just not making a feature? Like, let's just make a feature. So why don't we just do that? And I had been working. I'd produced a couple of feature films with the same team I made my movie with, films that are bigger than mine. But I knew I had a team of people that would be willing to play and come along for the ride, including Jordan and Tara that I mentioned earlier in the show that now live in New Hampshire where we shot. And so it was like, hey guys, do you guys want to make a movie? I want to make a movie. Let's do this. And that's kind of how it all started.
So that's how it all started. But now I got to ask the writer
Hmm.
question,
Yeah.
which is, were you writing for yourself all along?
Yeah.
And did you have a stack of ideas in a notebook so that you actually had an idea what to do with the feature, or did you actually say, now I got to think of something?
Uh, a little bit of yes to all those questions. So I had a stack of ideas, and also there is somebody that put some money into the movie, and even though we're low budget, there is some money in it. And essentially, I wanted to pitch ideas. So I put together a handful of ideas. Some were mine, some were from Jordan Long that I talked about, some were from Tara, some were from Matt Glass, who's my DP and the composer on the movie as well. They're all very experienced filmmakers. And we kind of just got together and we would hang out and come up with ideas to kind of flesh out between ourselves, but then also pitch. And it came down to a couple different ideas. One of them being Where Darkness Dwells, another one being a movie that Matt was kind of more, my DP was kind of more, it was more his idea. And we even shot a sizzle for that, which was a lot of fun, but it ended up being the Where Darkness Dwells idea. And I knew we didn't have a script. I had some basic ideas, and more than the ideas themselves, I knew I had a tone. There was a very specific tone I wanted to go for in the movie. And I was like, I kind of wrote for that. The location was a big influence on that. Also, because it's New England, I love research. So the researching just old New England folklore had a huge influence. And also that's Lovecraft country. So Lovecraft had a big influence on the movie as well. But I didn't want to do Lovecraft, so I kind of spun him into my own ideas. But I knew I had a tone. So the writing followed the tone. And even directing, and even the final movie, I was like, if the movie is terrible, as long as I achieve the tone I want to go for, I will be happy as a creative, and I'm very happy with the tone of the movie. So I'm yeah, I'm happy with that.
And it strikes me that besides the tone, you are a fan of this genre and this kind of
Yeah,
film. Like I admit, I'm
yeah,
peeking at your IMDb, and I see the word horror pop up here and there
yeah.
in your history of directing and or producing. And
Yes, and it's it tends to come up more because I had a company for a while called Fun Size Horror. Then I had some partners in that, and we produced short horror content. We would package short horrors together as anthology features that we would sell, and we did a long variety of things over about 5 years. But most of I would say I'm not as into horror as my resume would say, and it's just because that's the crowd I fell in with, and that was what the company was doing. But I do love suspense. I do love mystery. So I'm not so much a quote unquote horror fan as I am like suspense and mystery. And Where Darkness Dwells goes into lands that I normally don't even care for in movies. There are some things that I don't want to mention because there are some spoilers, but like there are certain aspects of the movie that I don't normally gravitate towards, but just over the writing process, I just was like, oh, well, this just naturally feels like this is what this wants to be. And again, influenced by like New England lore as well. So it fell more into that. Yeah.
for sure, and I mean, it's almost a useless thing to mention, but it is absolutely probably, I would guess, if there was a Venn diagram, because no film is all anything, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
If there was a Venn diagram, thriller probably would be the
Yes.
biggest, or if there was a pie
Yeah.
chart, thriller is the biggest piece of pie.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
but the word horror people really love,
Yeah. And I even
and the
use
horror
it,
genre covers so much
it
now.
covers so much. And I even use it I'm being very specific in this conversation, but I use horror all the time. I'm like, oh, it's a horror movie. But in my like if I sat down and really talked about it, it's way more of a thriller and stuff like that. But I just use it interchangeably.
And the mystery, because it's definitely not a spoiler to mention that it actually does center around a reporter, because we
Mhm.
learned that like scene one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, and and uh, and that's there is no even right there should be a name for the genre that is reporter movies, because
There
the
should be,
reporter
shouldn't there?
seeking a
Yeah,
story
yeah.
is such a great storytelling device.
It is.
It's
And
hard for
man,
me to think of films about
yeah.
reporters that I don't get pulled into.
Yeah, I love anything with a reporter, anything with a newspaper. I'm usually I'm usually into. So it's not surprising that that happened in my movie.
Well,
Yes.
especially if the writer and or writers respect their audience enough that the reporter is intelligent and makes intelligent decisions
Hmm.
through their process, and yours does. Your lead character is very smart, and I don't think, once again, not a spoiler to say that there's never a moment in Where Darkness Dwells where you think, oh shit, well they just had their lead character do that to keep the
Yeah,
story moving, but that didn't make any sense at all. Like
yeah,
it is true. You just as you wrote things to the story because you were listening to the story and what it needed.
hmm,
Yeah, you didn't do any shortcuts. If you had a problem working out this mystery, you worked it out without bullshit. That's what
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
saying.
Well, thank you, thank you. It means a lot. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, I've been saving this compliment for a minute, but we got to the film pretty quick. So maybe I've only been holding on to this comment for 23
Ugh.
minutes. But
Yeah.
but I will confess to you now that when I saw this film for the first time, I had seen so many disappointing features in a row. I was starting to lose hope.
Oh.
And then you hooked me right in the beginning. I think you have such a good act one. Honestly, even the beginning of your act one really just grabs. And I watched it all the way to the end with in one viewing, which is not the norm. Honestly, normally it's watch the first 5 to 10 and then put it in a watch more later or don't watch more later
Hmm.
bucket,
Hmm.
because when you have 700 films to get through or
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
780 or whatever,
I can't
you're like,
imagine.
I
Yeah.
gotta have an idea. Are there 20 great features to sort through? Or are there 11 or are there 32? Like you want to get an idea. But no, I just stayed with you because I got roped into this mystery.
Oh, lovely. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Groovy. All right. So so you got that backer and that helped decide which script. Oh, well then no, you wrote the script because actually you just pitched the idea.
Yeah, yeah. And then we wrote it. I think by the time I started writing it by myself, and then I needed help. And my editor, Simone Kissel, she works with Alexandra Grunberg, who is a writer, and was like, "Hey, you should talk to Alex about this." And Alex was on board, which I was thrilled with. Alex is actually she's a poet and she writes everything, but she does do like poetry and novels. And I just thought that that was really appropriate for this screenplay, and she seemed to like it. Hopefully, she did. I had a rough draft when I got her involved already, and when I say rough, I mean very rough. So especially the third act, it was all over the place. Um, so I was very nervous to share it with her, but then she got involved and we started working together on it. And yeah, the
And
rest
like
the rest
how
is
long a
history.
process was the till
Oh, good point.
the
Yeah.
draft that you I'm going to assume you probably did some rewrites once you started, but
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, we were rewriting even while we're shooting it. I'd be like, oh God, wait a second, and try to come up with stuff. But I think it was. I think I wrote the first draft in March or April. I think it was 2023, and we were in production by November. So it was really fast. Yeah, it
that
was
is
very fast.
fast.
And honestly, it was primary. We even shot the first scene of the movie, or for scenes we shot before we had a final script because the weather had to be different because it takes place in a forest and it had to look different than the rest of the movie. It had to be a different time period. So we went and shot just me, Matt, who's the DP, Tara, who plays the lead, and her husband Jordan, who's also the production designer and in the movie. It was just us in New Hampshire, just hanging out, and we shot the whole beginning of the movie on a DSLR camera, not even the red that we shot the rest of the movie on, and we didn't even have a full script. We were just kind of like I generally knew, again, the tone kind of led the way. I knew if I hit the tone, we're okay. So I was able to kind of follow that lead and go for it.
Which is interesting because tone is so critical, but I'm not even sure how often people think about tone.
I think they should if they're directors. I think it's part of world building. You have to build a consistent world, and tone is part of that the mixture, the recipe.
For sure. For sure. And you even did some underworld building.
Yes, yes, I did.
You did with that, right? All right. So you were shooting later that year,
Mhm.
and because because you had a connection with this location, were you able to sort of take your time and let it breathe and
Oh, that is a good
or
question.
or was it rushed? Because I also have a bias. Whenever someone is like, yeah, you know what? We actually had the location and we got to spend like, 6 weeks there, it always turns out better.
That is a great question. I actually think I don't want to say we felt rushed, but we were constrained. Which is a
Right, because they
different,
make money off that property. They could only loan
yeah.
it to you for so much.
Oh, absolutely. We can't be there for super long, but because it is a location we know and intimately, and even Jordan and Tara now live there, so like they're able to do things. So that did give us a little breathing room, but we only shot there, I think, 10 days, I think. So it may have come a week early to start prepping things. So we were not there a long time. And also weather. It is New England, and we were shooting in, I think, late November is when we started. You can't wait around too long because it'll snow and then it'll rain, then it'll melt, then it'll snow. And then so there's a consistency aspect that you have to take into account.
Right, right. So it was a few weeks,
Yeah, yeah, just 10 days, 10 days of
10
shooting.
days.
Yeah.
So really 2 weeks,
Yeah.
5 days, everyone
Takes a couple
tries to
days
rest
off.
their weary
Yep.
bones for a
Hmm.
weekend and then another five.
Yep, exactly. That's it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. No, but and yet you were able to, wow.
Yeah,
I,
well
I'm,
there we did
I mean,
shoot
I'm thinking
we
about the fact that you said you were rewriting even
Yeah.
in that 10-day period,
Yeah. When
to
I
which
say
I want to use a meth joke about you
yeah.
clearly weren't sleeping.
No, well, I believe in sleep. I actually think it's an underrated aspect because I know so many filmmakers, especially when they're on location, they're like, "No, man, we'll just stay up. We'll stay up. And we'll talk about everything during the day, and then we'll review shots." And I'm like, "Dude, get your sleep." So I did get sleep, not a lot, but I definitely like got sleep. And it all comes down to prep. I'm a big believer in prep as well. So as the more prepped you are, the easier production is. And I'll add too, we shot 10 days in New Hampshire. We did shoot 3 days in LA. There are like a couple office scenes, and there's the character Cassie, which is a bit of an antagonist as well. Her stuff was in LA as well. So it wasn't the whole movie, but it was 10 days. And yeah, it just comes down to prep. And also, this is a team that I've worked with, so that helps you move faster. And the rewriting I mentioned is very minimal. It's usually like dialogue, something like that. It was not like we're not restructuring the movie or changing scenes. We're just changing some lines or questioning some choices, things like that. So it all went pretty smooth. Knock on wood. I don't have to knock on wood. We're already done with the movie, but
You're already done.
it all
Well,
went
and
pretty
and I
smooth.
can tell it really is your producing experience also probably
Yeah.
that's why you're a prep person, right? Because
Oh, absolutely.
you
Yeah.
have seen what happens if there's not enough. You can't have too much. No one
No,
ever said
no.
this is too well prepared.
No, no, you have to be prepared. And I'm also a very anxious person. If I'm not prepared, I'm too anxious. Like my nerves will kill me. So I have to be very, very, very prepared.
Uh, I might be the kind of festival runner who said to a staffer at the festival in December of last year, "Your job is not to add stress to my life. We have this is all well
Yeah.
planned, and you're stressing me out. I
Yeah.
might want you to go home." So anyway.
Yeah. I relate. I relate.
Yeah, you got to prepare and stick to the plan.
That's right.
And you did. And then and then you come back to LA and you shot the LA stuff after?
We shot the LA stuff after it, and even a while after. I think we shot I think it may have been March of the following year. So it was, 2 or 3 months later. Um, and honestly, I don't even remember why it was that long because we weren't really doing it. May have just been holidays and then making sure everybody's available. Like that might have been why we took that long. I don't remember. But there were 2 or 3 months there where we had to put that piece of the puzzle together. And then shoot that and start editing. Yeah.
Which is really cool. It's a very cool sequence in a way in Act One where you do see your lead character in their work environment.
Mm-hmm.
Because I gotta admit, that's another thing that so many films nowadays leave out. But seeing people at work, you really get to know them.
Yeah.
I always find that interesting.
Yeah, and I think I mean that's kind of what typical kind of story structure is. You have to show the protagonist world, and because everything's about to change, right? If it's a good story, there's going to be some conflict and change. So what's the current status of that person's life? And obviously we tend to be work people, so show people at work tends to be one of those go-tos.
Oh, it's one of the saddest things about being an American is when you meet people, they ask you, "What do you do?" instead of "Where are you from?" or
Yeah,
"What do you like
yeah,
to do?" or "What what football team do you root for?" Football meaning soccer, but
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
All right, so a good post experience.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it was relatively the only thing that was kind of a hiccup of it was we edited remotely. So my editor, Simone, is based on the East Coast. And I will not lie, that was a challenge. And it wasn't anything to do with her or I. It was just like working remote editing a movie was not easy. And I thought it would work because I've done some TV stuff. But when we were working the movie, it's like, oh, but that's a little different. That's some like docu stuff, and TV's a little different. And like, I don't know, it's just such a different thing that was a little bit of a struggle. But that being said, super smooth as well. Like we didn't run into any major issues. Like the movie cut together the way it was supposed to. Um, there's always things to cut and change and clean, but nothing major happened that was like, oh God, the whole first act we have to throw out and start again. Like everything kind of worked out okay. So yeah.
Yeah, and all you lost with the remote thing was that sitting watching together, right? But so it took a
Absolutely.
little
Yeah.
more time for you to watch and then
Yeah.
take notes and
Take
then
notes.
hop
And
on the
it's the
phone and discuss it.
and the way I call it is like play. The play of it, because you can't quickly do that. Even over a Zoom, it's hard to be like, oh wait, quickly try this. Oh wait. Oh wait, what if we with that other take that we didn't like? What if we, like there's that just adds there's time to that you don't have that time doesn't exist. It's so
That's
much
true in this
faster in
in
person.
this look, this post COVID Zoom world we're
Yeah,
in. Uh yeah, they're looking at the same screen together is just different than sharing a screen remotely, which is
it
weird. It
is.
should be the same, but it's
It
just
should be the
not.
same. And that was my thought is it should be the same. But no, it was tough. It was tough and may just be more on me. It was just hard for me to kind of do that and communicate. But yeah, it was a challenge. But we made it through it. We
Made
made
it
it through
through.
it. Yeah.
Made it through. And was that a long process because it was remote? Was it take a little
Yeah.
longer?
That is a good question. I think on any, because it's a micro budget movie, so no one's getting paid well. So I just assumed it would take a long time because people have to take other work and you have to just kind of deal with that. Um, so I don't even remember the amount of time. I think I just wasn't even counting. I was just like, hey, let's just make sure the ball's moving forward. I wasn't trying to keep to certain deadlines. I knew I didn't want this movie, and still to this day, I don't want this movie to be one of those small movies that takes 5 years to come out. Because I've worked on those, both as an actor and producer and otherwise. And it's like, guys, if we're doing this, we're doing it to make it, get it done, do the festivals, get distribution. We're going through those steps. That's what we're doing. And we're not delaying that. So we did take our time with post just because it's micro budget and people aren't getting paid super well. So we got to take our time. But we didn't stretch it out any more than we needed to.
Yeah, makes sense. And again, well, that's both preparation and discipline right there too, making
Yeah.
sure you're like
Yeah.
because Lord knows mission creep can happen
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It does all the time. Yeah.
all the time. And then you hit the festival circuit, I assume.
Hmm. We did. We started, I was about to say this year, but now it's 2026. So last year, sort of the second half, second third of the year, we were targeting some festivals. And I'll share this to other filmmakers that may be listening. We weren't getting in anywhere. And I was getting really disheartened. I was like, oh God, do we have to change the whole movie? Nothing's working. I was getting really down on myself. We weren't getting into a lot of festivals I thought we would get into. And then we hit this run where suddenly we got into a bunch of festivals. And it changed my whole perspective. And it was a wonderful experience and has been a wonderful experience. But it was weird how it was just like a bunch of no's and then suddenly a bunch of yeses. So it was a weird swap that happened.
I've heard that from other people, and sometimes we're the first one, and I always wonder if maybe there are festivals out there that just, and obviously there's the the big bully festivals
Mhm.
that won't touch you if it's not a premiere, but maybe there's others. I always wonder if there's others that are like, we if it's played somewhere else, then we know. You know what I mean?
That's part of,
Because I've
I
been
don't,
told that. I've been told
yeah.
you let us in, and then everyone started saying yes.
I do think, and I have no insight, I have no insider trading knowledge here, but I do think when you get in, at least from my experience with this movie, I do think it kind of helps. Like maybe not be like you said, there are some that are like, no, we want the premieres and whatever, but like I do think there's like a validity of like, oh, other people like that movie. Wait a second, we should consider
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
But also those are the big city LA type ones, right? Whereas, this is I assume like this film would have, oh man, what a silly question, but I assume it should have been embraced by some New England-y film
It
festivals,
should, to be
particularly.
honest, we didn't submit to a lot of New Englandy film festivals. I think just because they're coming up. I think the timing of when the
Oh,
movie
the
was done and we were sent.
timing
So we
and the
actually
cost of
haven't.
travel for you, right?
Yeah, yeah, and I wasn't even thinking about that when we were submitting, to be honest. But I think just timing. Like, there's some New England festivals we have not submitted to much in New England. Now I'm going to have to go through Film Freeway and look at this. But
I know in my head,
yeah,
I feel like someone mentioned to me once that they played like at one that had some Edgar Allan Poe connection.
There is like a Poe. I forget the name of it. There is a Poe related festival that
Yeah.
may have been. I
And
can't
honestly,
remember if
your
that's one we
tone
submitted.
fits.
Our tone does fit. If we didn't submit to that, I'm going to pull it up. Maybe I will.
Who knows?
Who knows? Who knows?
And then wow, so we're already so I'm glad you did have that good festival
Mhm.
experience and you didn't get discouraged in the early going,
Yeah, well, I mean, I probably did get a little discouraged, but it did swap around for me, which was great. Yeah.
which is great. And so now what are you planning next for this film? And I assume you're still working and doing other things for yourself, but I would assume that this experience has whet the appetite to
Oh
make
yeah.
another feature.
Of course, of course. So first with this movie, we're going through the process right now of trying to get distribution. I I'm very optimistic. I know we will get distribution. It's just a matter of finding the right partner, and also I'm sure other indie filmmakers will relate to this, but I think there are a lot of wrong partners out there, and so I'm trying to be very cautious about what we do. But between myself and my producing partners, we know people. We did start to send it around right at the wrong time of the year when everybody goes on holiday break. So we haven't talked to many people yet. But we are sending it around and trying some sort of top choices first. And then if we get just a bunch of no's, we're going to shift gears and figure out what's right after that. But I'm 100% think we're going to be out there this year in 2026 for people to find. Very confidently, I will say that we actually did even get an offer, but I won't talk about details. But it's not the right one, so we're going to wait. But at least we know there is some interest.
Lord knows it's just like dating. There are more wrong
Yes, there are more
partners,
wrong.
a
I've been
lot more
through.
wrong partners, a
Yeah,
lot more people who, fortunately, it sounds like you've got the experience and knowledge to stay away
yeah,
from those
and
folks.
also I think there is a world, especially with little movies, where self-distributing it and using places like Film Hub and some other aggregators, there is a world where that is a better choice. So it takes some math, some thinking about how much energy you want to put into that kind of thing. But anyway, I'm 100% confident we will be out there this year. So if you're listening to the show, stay tuned for Where Darkness Dwells.
Stay tuned, and I will while we're recording, just if you remember that you did this podcast when it's coming out, feel free to fire off an email to me
Oh
with a link to
yeah.
where people can see
Oh
it, so
please.
that
Yeah, yeah.
the show notes line will have a link where you can watch. Although people could also just use Just Watch because another, I'm going to give you a compliment that you may not expect, which is it's a unique title.
Oh, thank you. We
You know what I
changed the
mean?
title. It's so
You
nice of
know
you to say
how
that.
annoying
Yeah.
it is for a festival programmer to get a film with a title like Rideshare?
Yeah, there's so many of
And it's
those.
Rideshare 116 on
Yep.
IMDb.
Yep. I think I
And
produced a
you're
short
like,
called Ride Share like 7 years ago. There's a million of them. Yeah.
there's a
Yeah.
million. But also it's just, it, although I guess if there's ever sometimes people milk off the fact that there was a hit with a name and they're like, well, people watch our film by mistake. But I don't think that's a good. But
No,
Where
no.
Darkness Dwells is something people could type into
Yes.
justwatch.com
And
and
find it.
there's only going to be one film coming
There
up, right?
is, there is, and we worked hard at that because there was an original title. It was Umbra was the original title, but as we were writing the script, the title didn't make sense anymore, and it did for like an initial incarnation of this, and it just didn't make sense. But we never changed the name until we were we were done editing. It was like, guys, okay, we got to come up with a new title. Here's a list of ideas, and I was just like
Like
bouncing
you were
ideas off the
picturing the
team.
title
Yeah.
sequence when you show it on screen, you're like,
Yep.
well, we're not putting Umbra on screen.
No, no, because people just go, what? Huh? Um, and yeah, so we had to come up with something else. And I'm happy to hear that because we worked hard at the title. So I'm very happy to hear that. Um,
I I will amuse you with this two facts. I actually do care a lot about titles because I think, but not always. I mean, lots of films with uncreative titles are wonderful, but if someone puts a little time into their title and a little time into their font that title is in, when you're the kind of person that sees 1,500 indie films a year running two festivals, you'll really notice that the more care that goes into title and title font, they're always better films because the person is putting in the effort. It's very funny. It's a very funny signal.
I get it. I totally get it. That's amazing. Well, thank you. Thank you so much
It's
because
good stuff.
we worked really hard at that.
Look, my poor wife sits next to me. Probably two-thirds of the time I'm screening, I'm sitting in
Mhm.
our little TV room watching on a pretty big TV. But she'll come in and sit with me because she loves indie film too. And every time the title comes up, she knows I'm going to comment. And she goes, and I don't think I've ever been proven wrong. If it's a terrible font for that title, that's just not going to be a good movie.
Yeah, yeah. It's a good point because I think I've without ever voicing it and putting that much thought into it, which I would do if I watched as many movies as you too. But I can definitely tell when especially font is a fickle little beast, and there are certain fonts out there that people will use that I will be like, oh, you don't know what you're doing, do you? you it is a giveaway.
You looked at the top five alphabetically,
Yeah, that's right. That's right. It's
and
like the
and
default. Yeah.
and if you made this film for the right reasons, instead of just wanting to see your name on the screen, that is the other joke. I will share my other joke, which is if I see the a person's name more than three times in the opening sequence, title sequence, then I know why they made the film.
Yeah.
Because if
Yeah.
it's written by and directed by and produced by and production design, if they give themselves, if you see the same person's name more than two, three times, well, you just made the film because you wanted us to see your name.
Yeah, and this is me agreeing with you as somebody that has 18 different credits in this movie. But
18, but you didn't even put yourself,
no,
you didn't list yourself for a lot of things you did do.
no, and because I think it's ridiculous when people do that. Like you don't need to do that, and it just becomes an ego thing. Yeah, just and I think there's one of the Mr. Bean movies. I'm a big dork. I love Mr. Bean. It's the one when I think it's Mr. Bean's Holiday. I could be wrong with the title, but he travels to the Cannes Film Festival. I forget why, but he's on like a road trip. And it was, oh God, who was the actor that played? Anyway, there's some like Hollywood actor, and it's a famous actor playing this part who has a movie screening at Cannes. And the like movie starts, and it's this black and white film, and it's a close up of himself, and it's like a movie starring, I'm just going to make up a name, Bob Smith, starring Bob Smith, directed by Bob Smith, and then the next card, produced by Bob Smith, written by. But and it's always making fun of that sort of ego-driven thing. Yeah, I do not want to be that.
Don't want to be
Yeah,
that. You don't want to be
yeah,
that. And I've yet to see one that actually ended up being good.
yeah. It's a good
I
point.
have
Yeah,
not been proven wrong on that one either.
yeah.
All right, so you have your stack of ideas, but you haven't committed to one because you're still in the depths of where darkness dwells and where
Oh,
it's
in
going to
terms
end
of
up.
what next? Yeah, that is. I have, God, maybe four movies that I'm working on, and I don't know which one will be next. And I'm actually one of my goals this month is to kind of find one to focus on, and that can shift naturally. You never know who may take an interest in whatever. But I'm trying to find one to sort of put my focus on. I also host two different podcasts, which I've fallen in love with. The main one is called A Study of Strange, which is just me exploring strange mysteries, anything that excites me in the mystery world, because that's what I love. And that has been slowly growing over the years that I've been doing it. And last year was the first year that I think I had an episode almost every week of the year. And it took a little break for the holidays this year, and I'm going to come back very soon. But that has been growing where now that's something I can't drop the ball on. I want to keep doing that because I can make some money on it, and it's something that just thrills me as a creative storyteller and loving sort of the podcast world. And I do another one for a client. I do Fuel for the Future, which is an automotive podcast because I hosted some car shows for Motor Trend TV for a long time. So it's a very different part of my life, but I do some automotive stuff for them on that podcast as well. And I want to do more. That's why I brought that up because I actually have another podcast I want to start this year as well.
Interesting. Very
Yeah.
cool. I probably should just wait till we're not recording, But my brother is a big shot automotive engineer who worked Sweat, and now he's actually landed at Rivian.
Oh,
And with the new
nice.
Rivian coming out, he has sent me podcasts where like an interviewer sits down with that, I
Yeah.
think it's RJ, who is the founder of Rivian, and like they'll dive deep on that car. And I gotta admit, it's really interesting.
Oh, good, good, good. Yeah, yeah. This is my show. Feel for the Future is for a company. I'm just gonna do this because it'll win me some things. It's for a company called America's Automotive Trust, which runs a couple different automotive museums, and they want to preserve automotive heritage and history and all that kind of good stuff. And it's sponsored by State Farm Insurance as well. And we have a good time. We have a good time. I got to get back into that. We haven't done one in a few months now, so I've got to actually reach out and see if we can start that up because we're supposed to be doing more.
Understood. Well, that's excellent. So you know what, you're sliding into Renaissance person territory with the acting and the podcasting and the producing and the writing and directing. I mean, but that's the modern world, right?
I was going to say it's not to deflect because, again, I'm not good with compliments, but it's kind of just what you have to do. I've always wanted to tell stories. I've always wanted to be a filmmaker. The world is changing in terms of entertainment, and also where you can make money is quickly changing with entertainment. And if you want to do something for a career, I think you just have to make stuff. So you kind of have to do a million different things. And it's one of the things I loved about the movie Where Darkness Dwells. It's very micro budget, and everybody's like, whoa, but you got to use it as a stepping stone. You need a bigger movie, which yes, yes, I definitely want a bigger movie. I would love that. But at the same time, I love doing it. And if the market dictates that that's kind of the budget level that you can do things at, then just make more of those. And I have no problem doing that. I absolutely love making movies. I will make them at any budget. And if that means making a super tiny budget one again, I'll definitely do it without even a question. And that relates to doing the podcast and other things as well. I think if you're going to make stuff and just do it. So yeah.
And I think you're onto something. I mean, besides my bias of being pro indie, is that, I don't look at Where Darkness Dwells. There's not one moment where I think if they'd had more money, it'd be better. It's the film it needs to be. It's a great story. It's greatly shot. It's greatly told. It's greatly acted. Like everything about there's nothing missing. And
Mm.
honestly, the funny thing is, if someone threw you two, three times the budget, make the same film and just pay everyone
But
better.
that's what, honestly, even just as the producer brain in me kicked on, I'd be like, no, I would just pay everybody better. I wouldn't get a better camera system. I wouldn't hire more people. I would just pay people better. And I think that actually affects quality too. I think people work a little bit harder. Maybe you get a couple extra days, give yourself a little more time. Time is very valuable, but for the most part, I think most of that money would go to just paying people. So it would very much probably be the same movie. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. A story my aunt's dad told. He was a guy who was in Hollywood in the 40s, 50s, 60s, and in fact, a musical person who conducted the orchestra that did the Gilligan's Island theme. How's that for
Oh,
a
that's so
mention? How's
awesome.
that for a
Wow.
name drop?
Yeah.
But he was when I was interested in film and I was in college, I remember him telling me at Thanksgiving when I was talking about low budget stuff, he said, I knew a guy who made movies for $100,000 and he just made three a year or something for $100,000 each. And someone said to him, oh, well, what would you do with $1 million? And the guy rubbed his hands together and said, 10 pictures.
That's right. Yes. I agree.
There you go. Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, is there I assume because you plan everything so well, is there a website, social media devoted?
No, no, not yet. We're actually waiting to do any of that until we have distribution. So we're holding off to put that all
Right, so
together when we
that's
have a home
planned
for it.
out. You want
Yeah, yeah. So we don't know because I don't want to like say, oh, the website is this, because what if we suddenly with the distributor, someone wants to change something about it, whatever. So we don't have those dedicated yet to announce, but I am waiting until we have distribution. And once we do, there'll be social media and websites. So just try to keep a lookout for Where Darkness Dwells, or follow me. Follow me is
That's
one way
right.
to
Follow
do it.
you.
Yeah.
We will have your Michael_May_official. We'll have that clickable link in the show notes, and then people can follow you there. And I'm sure you will be referring people over.
We would hope so. It'd be weird if I
is,
didn't refer people to the movie. That'd be odd. But yeah,
that would be like,
definitely promote
yeah,
it.
no,
Yeah.
I mean, I wrote, directed, I act in it, and I put 2 years of my life into that film. But I don't need. I don't want to tell everybody about it.
Nah, they don't need to see it. It's fine.
No, they do. They do. They'll see it, and it'll be well, whatever. I won't. I was just gonna say, like, I have a college kid who only watches horror, and I can promise you they'd throw this on at the dorms.
Awesome. Thank you. Let's do it.
There we go. Yeah. College rollout. They used to do that.
It's good. I know. And it was always a good idea back in the day. Probably would still be. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if they do it. I will do the wrap up. And then after the wrap up, I'll tell you something funny.
Cool.
But everyone else doesn't get to hear it. Only you. All right. So thank you, Michael. Thank you so much for doing this podcast. And congrats on all the great work. And congrats on the film. And okay, everyone, check the clickable links in the show notes so you can follow Michael and learn more. And if you want to learn more about this podcast, you can go to the website, discoverindiefilm.com. And on social media, it's always at DIFwins. This is January 26th, 2026. So I have now been off social media for a year. Which means I just say that because my life is better without it. But my wonderful podcast producer, Karina, does check the at DIFwins social media. So if you write to us on there, I don't respond. Karina's going to respond. Because I just, oh boy, life is better for me. Not doom scrolling and or looking at pet videos. I'm Mr. Pet Video. I could lose an hour of my life if I start looking at bunny rabbits and huskies. So anyway, discoverindiefilm.com is the website for the podcast. If you go to discoverindiefilm.org, that is the nonprofit that runs 2 film festivals in the Los Angeles area. We do Sherman Oaks Film Festival every December, which is where we showed Where Darkness Dwells. And we do Film Invasion Los Angeles every June. That's its sister festival. So you can link to both of those and their social media and everything if you just go to discoverindiefilm.org. They're both in the top 100 best reviewed list on Film Freeway. Out of 14,000 festivals in the world, we've got 2 of the top 100. So our team is pleased with that. And we thank all our alumni for giving us 5-star ratings, because that's how you get on the best rated list is the people who've been in your festival give you a good rating. And I mentioned the term sister festival, but it is now past. But a few weeks ago, we held a festival in Lima, Peru called Film Invasion Lima. Film Invasion Los Angeles finally gave birth to another one. And I can tell you, Lima was great.
That's amazing. Good for you guys. That's awesome.
It's fun. It's a fun thing. And it's funny because Vancouver almost happened. London almost happened. But a lot of cities, but people would approach and be like, hey, how about a Film Invasion here? And I'd always be like, yeah, I'm busy AF. So this is the level of, I will really mentor someone on running a festival and let you use the name if I trust you, and we'll work something out. And when everyone found out they would have to do the work, they backed off. But that team down in Lima, they're doing it. And it's beautiful. And it was at a beautiful theater in the Colonial Quarter.
Oh, that's amazing.
In downtown Lima, where it's like across the street is like the Natural History Museum, and it's Spanish architecture. Like, I know that's a little loaded these days. that when you're walking around Lima, Peru, all of a sudden you cross the street and you're in Valencia, Spain. It feels like Valencia, Spain. Yeah. It's like, all right, but the Spanish, they they did some terrible things, but they built some beautiful buildings, and that's where the theater is. All right, Michael. Thank you again. And thank you everyone for listening.
Thank you so much.